sir, you know what time it is. It's that time of the week again, another Tuesday night. We got a bonkers main event. We got top dollars. We got insanely athletic referees. All of this a beautiful combination for another episode of NXT. My name is Jordan Moser, and this is your NXT Recap and Review. First up in the night, we got the match between Karrion Kross and Austin Theory. We see Theory, he's very tentative to get into the ring, but Gargano is pushing him on. He's like, go ahead, man. You got this. Go ahead. So he gets in and he tries to go up against Kross, tries to hit him with shots. And Kross is a big body, so that joint don't work. Kross just ends up destroying him for a good portion of the beginning of this match until as he's going for a Saito. Gargano gets up on the apron and distracts the referee, and that allows Austin Theory to get those fingers into the eyes of big Karrion Kross. Ends up hitting a good number of shots and taking control. Hits a nice DDT on the outside, and eventually later on hits a nice drop kick in the ring to take Kross down. But as he's gloating and celebrating, hitting that drop kick, Kross is right back up to his feet. He turns around, hits him quickly with two Saito suplexes, hits him with that forearm to the back of the head, but he is not done. He's not going for the pin. It hits him with consecutive forearms right in the back of that head, and then for some reason, even though he's already out, locks him in a guillotine choke, and the ref calls it within the next 2 seconds. Match is over. Another win for Karrion Kross, and as Gargano and Theory are kind of recollecting on the laurels on the stage, as Karrion Kross stares them down, we see Finn Balor come up out the background. The Prince, he is back, and he comes up, he gets face to face. He's like, bro, I don't wait in line. I want my rematch now. And so they all come together, and it's official. We get that rematch for the NXT Championship in 2 weeks on NXT TV. That is going to be a fun time, but this was also a match that's what it needed to be, pretty much. A good way to kind of give Theory a little bit of rise, but showcase the dominance of Karrion Kross against everybody, which should be the case. He just won that title. He needs that momentum to pick up, especially with the match coming in 2 weeks. Not sure if I love the idea of Balor as the next challenger, because NXT usually doesn't do rematches, but I'm all for seeing the match again. The match that they had at Stand and Deliver was pretty good, and so I'm seeing them rehash that on NXT TV. Can't be mad at it. So this was exactly what it needed to be, most definitely. Next up, we have a match between the NXT Tag Team Champions, MSK, versus Breezango. We see the beginning of this match. Breeze and Lee start off, and they are completely evenly matched, as are Nash Carter and Fandango when they get into the match as well. We see a lot of back and forth here at the beginning. Also, when we're going into the commercial break, we see the referee, he kind of gets involved in all the back and forth action, does a nice little leapfrog and a dive to the floor as well. He just seems bewildered, and everybody's looking at him like, bro, what are you doing? Get out the match. Referee, don't get involved in the matchup. So yeah, just a really funny or interesting moment as we went into the commercial break. Coming back from break, and Fandango is in control, just hitting a Falcon Arrow on Wesley, only for a 2 count. We see later on Nash Carter tags into the match, and he comes in like a dynamo, hitting nice double team moves with Wesley, including that push into the moonsault, which is broken up by Fandango for a 2 count as well. We see at one point all 4 men are just throwing hands right in the middle of the ring, just going at it. Tyler Breeze eventually stands tall from this as he hits 2 super kicks. He goes up top for a move, but Nash Carter's back in, and he switches that momentum right back around, knocks both members of Breezango out the ring, and then hits a nice corner moonsault to the outside to take both men out. But we do see the end of this match come as Tyler Breeze is back in, and he's going for the unprettier. He's hit with an enziguri, and that spells the end. MSK hits that elevated blockbuster for the 1-2-3 and the win. Another victory for the tag team champions, and we see them call out Legado del Fantasma, who was calling them out a little bit earlier in the weeks in NXT, and now they just want that match. They back at it, That seems like the direction that we're going for. Takeover in Your House, which was announced as well. But yeah, this is a pretty fun matchup. I didn't really care for all the referee action and stuff like that. I just felt like point put in there that didn't need to be there at all, pretty much. But yeah, very entertaining match, especially the back half. Of course, all 4 men just going at it, athletic as heck, and just doing the moves that they do. Definitely awesome stuff. So yeah, very solid matchup between these 2 teams. Coming back, and we see Pete Dunne is in the ring with the microphone, and he's like, bro, Like, I'm the best here. Like, ain't nobody touching me, bro. Karrion Kross, I see you the champ. I see you looking at Finn Balor. You know, that's all cool because, you know, if I would have fought you, I would have knocked your block off. It would have been over already. And as for anybody in the back who thinks differently, please come out here and prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, please. And so we see Leon Ruff. He comes out and attacks from behind. He was told earlier in the night by William Regal that he would not compete, but can't stop him from answering an open challenge, even if he is cleared. So the match kicks off, and we see Dunne go to work completely. This is very much so an extended squash, by the way. He's just taking him down and just going to work with that joint manipulation on Ruff. Ruff does begin to come back a little bit later on, hits a nice couple of slaps, eventually hits a nice little clothesline bouncing off the ropes. He goes up top for a move, and that spells the end for your boy right there. He jumps and he's hit right out the air with the forearm. Eventually, Pete Dunne locks in that triangle choke and just goes to work with elbows on Ruff's head, and the referee calls for that bell. It is the end of that match. Submission victory for Pete Dunne. And afterwards, he just hits another nice kick for a good measure to take Leon Ruff out a little bit more. Very much so what it needed to be as well. Very similar to the Theory and Cross match earlier in the night. Builds momentum for Pete Dunne for whatever is coming next. And definitely a good way to just kind of give him that spotlight that he needs a little bit more, because I think he deserves it most definitely. So yeah, definitely what it needed to be as well. Next up, we got the NXT Women's Championship match. The first defense for Raquel Gonzalez as she's defending against Mercedes Martinez. We see this match kick off. Martinez ain't wasting no time. She comes right at Raquel with some fast strikes, sends her out the ring, eventually hits a nice cannonball off the apron as well, and just throws her into the barricade outside the ring. They eventually make their way back inside the ring as we go into our commercial break. After a lot of back and forth in picture, we come back. Raquel hits a big clothesline on Martinez, only for a 2 count. But it's at this point, it just breaks down. These women are brawling and fighting. We see Martinez lock in a sleeper on Gonzalez, and she is not letting that thing go for the life of her. Just adds a nice couple of forearms to boot with that. And then that's followed by a nice array of moves from Martinez. She has Raquel's legs up, propped up in the corner, hits a nice final cut, and also hits a spear on the apron as well, as both women end up on the outside. Later on, we see as Raquel kind of recovered, she goes for that one-arm power bomb, but Martinez is able to slip out. She hits a running knee to Gonzalez on the floor and then hits a fisherman buster, but only for a 2 count. Raquel kicks out. Looked really convincing. I really thought that was it for a second, got kind of scared. But we see Raquel, as she recovers, she begins to come back. She hits a nice big boot, and that is followed by that one-arm power bomb for the 1, 2, 3, and the win in the first title defense for Raquel Gonzalez. This was pretty fun stuff, pretty solid. I definitely thought that Martinez actually looked a bit more impressive than Raquel in this match. This was probably her best performance in a minute, probably since fighting Rhea in that steel cage a little bit ago. So yeah, this is a very fun and impressive performance for Martinez, but definitely a great first defense for Raquel Gonzalez, just putting her over as that dominant champion that she should be with the next couple of months coming up and take over on the horizon. So yeah, this was very solid stuff and definitely a great first defense with these 2 women involved. Next up, we got Isaiah Swerve Scott here to introduce his new faction called Hit Row. We see out with him Ashanti the Adonis, and we eventually get the introductions of Top Dollar and B-Fab. Top Dollar just spitting his rhymes, B-Fab just walking around the ring looking pretty, and Ashanti the Adonis pretty much doing nothing to the extent of that. We see Isaiah Swerve Scott, he's just talking about not really caring what anybody thinks anymore, just their perceptions of him. It does not matter. It's only his perception now. It's only Hit Row's perception. And if you ain't down with that, if you ain't know, now you know. This was interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. On one hand, I like the fact that there is a black faction in NXT. I like that. It's very fun and hip, and the presentation was really good, and just the look that they had. But execution and them on the mic, I don't know, man. I get it's like their first time as a collective kind of speaking together, but the raps didn't do it or anything like that. B-Fab nor Ashanti the Adonis really said much of anything, and AJ or Top Dollar didn't do a lot with the time that he was given as well. So the only one that looked really comfortable was Swerve. So hopefully that kind of improves and they kind of gel a little bit more within the next couple weeks and months. But yeah, I wasn't really feeling it for the most part, I would say. And for the third week in a row, we have a segment involving Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase. We see an auction, and Grimes is continuing to bid, and $1 Million Man, he just ends up bidding on the whole house for $20 million. He's like, who spends $20 million on the house? That dang Ted DiBiase. Not that this is not entertaining, but this is the third week that we've kind of seen something like this. I'm kind of getting antsy. I want Cameron Grimes back in the CWC and not continuing to kind of do these segments. So let him wrestle, please, because I'm getting tired of it. Please and thank you. Thank you. We'll see a short little video segment for Zoe Stark leading up to her rematch with Toni Storm coming up next week, so we get that introduction. But yeah, very solid promo for Zoe Stark, just getting that time to really build that feud up between her and Toni Storm. Looking forward to next week, of course. Next up, we got a match between Oney Lorcan and Cool Kyle O'Reilly. We get the beginning of this match just very filled with grappling and just submission moves. Both very great technical wrestlers. There's a lot of back and forth. We see Kyle eventually get a nice little arm bar over the ropes on Oney Lorcan. He ends up out the ring. Pete Dunne is right behind him. Pete's like, well, man, I ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And eventually Lorcan comes from behind and clocks him as we go into the commercial break with Lorcan in control. Lorcan is beating the tar out of Kyle O'Reilly once we come back from break, but O'Reilly does begin to come back. He hits a knee to the gut and begins his comeback, hits that axe and smash and a nice couple of shots in the corner. Eventually gets a nice heel hook on Lorcan as well, who makes it to the rope in order to break that hold up, but O'Reilly does not relinquish the momentum. He eventually hits a brain buster, and he ends it as he goes up top and hits that top rope diving knee for the 1, 2, 3 and the win for Cool Kyle O'Reilly. But right after, Pete Dunne, who was out there, he attacks, and him and Lorcan are just going to town on O'Reilly, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, somebody's going to come out and help him. But who is it going to be? And it's Bobby Fish. Oh my gosh. Bobby Fish is back, baby. After being out for like 7 months from War Games, he's eventually back, and they fend off Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan as they get in the ring, and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish stand tall. And they're just going back and forth. He's like, hey, man, I'm just here to do my own thing now. That's what Kyle O'Reilly says. He's like, I love you, but I'm just here to do me. And Bobby Fish is like, all right, yeah, cool. I got my own scores to settle and stuff like that. You know, they're the ones that took me out, so I'll see you when I see you. And I was like, my heart, man. Not just for Undisputed Era. Red Dragon from Ring of Honor is one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Just loved watching them work. So hopefully they do just come back together one day. But I'm loving what they're kind of doing with them now, keeping Kyle on his own. And we'll see what Bobby Fish kind of does as a singles competitor. He was definitely accomplished in Ring of Honor and stuff like that as well. So just looking forward to see where they kind of blossom and go off from here. Maybe we see Roderick Strong kind of come back into the fold in some capacity, and Adam Cole. Who knows? You know, we'll definitely see some kind of combination of the four maybe a little bit later. But yeah, just like in what I saw right here, and definitely a good match between Kyle O'Reilly and Oney Lorcan as well. And last up, we have our main event for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Kushida defending 2 out of 3 falls, y'all, against Santos Escobar. We see the introductions. Escobar comes out hot, just taking care of business against Kushida. Throws him outside the ring. Eventually, Wild and Mendoza, they try to go ahead and attack, but they are stopped and thwarted by MSK, who comes diving over the barricade out of nowhere, frankly. All 4 men begin to brawl. We see both teams just kind of ousted and thrown out, and we get a firm one-on-one match for the duration as Kushida, he comes diving off that top rope to take out Escobar. As we go into the commercial break, we come back from break, and Escobar is in firm control for definitely a large portion of the back end of this match. I'm just taking care of business outside the ring with the submission on the pole and against the pole, and also in the ring just with the submissions and just wearing Kushida down for the whole time. Kushida does eventually start to come back. He reverses a Hurricane Rana from Escobar off the top rope and begins his comeback, but that does not last very long. He is eventually just stopped and cut off with a boot to the head, and Escobar hits that Phantom Driver for the 1, 2, 3 and the first fall that we see come in this match. We see them kind of get their like 20 seconds of recovery, and Escobar starts to go right back to work his knees to the chest. But we see as Kushida reverses another move from Escobar, gets on an arm bar, and Escobar taps out within the next 5 seconds. Like, that's crazy. Like, we get those 2 falls very back to back. It is now 1-1 as we go into picture in picture. coming back from break, and we see just some awesome back and forth at the end of this matchup. Escobar, he drops Kushida on the ropes and then hits a suicida to the outside to take him out. We see Kushida eventually just come back with that right hand, just continues to soften that arm of Escobar. Both are just trading pinning combinations like they're no tomorrow, and that's eventually capped by a double clothesline, just taking both men out. Just some awesome stuff in the back end of this. We kind of come to an end, and we see them both battling on the top rope. We see Escobar try to go for that Phantom Driver off the top of Kushida. He reverses that. He just gets out of it, eventually locks in that hoverboard lock, and then just flips him to the floor. They are now in the center of the ring. That hoverboard lock is on. Ain't no way he's getting out of that, right? But no. Escobar eventually gets to the rope to break that thing. That made me kind of scared that Kushida was about to lose. I was like, cool, really, this quickly? But that did not come to be. Kushida again locks in that hoverboard lock, and as Escobar tries to wiggle out of it again, he's like, nah, bro. Kushida suplexes him into the corner, and then with the arms trapped, hits a nice suplex, still with the arms tracked for a pinning combination. 1, 2, 3 in the pin for Kushida. He gets the second fall, and he retains the Cruiserweight Championship over Escobar. Wow, this was an amazing matchup. Definitely go back and watch this. The only fault I have with this matchup is how quick the two decisions kind of before the break kind of came out of nowhere to my knowledge. But outside of that, amazing action, great technical work from both men, great storytelling from both men as well. This is probably the best match that we've seen since TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Like, this was incredibly awesome stuff. Definitely the right person won. Kushida just kind of continuing his reign, and I definitely want to see bigger things for Escobar. Move up a division, move to the heavyweights, go after the North American title or something like that, because definitely Legado is too good to be kind of bogged down to the Cruiserweight division, definitely. So yeah, this was amazing stuff. Definitely an awesome match and a great way to main event and end this week of NXT. Yeah, all in all, this was an amazing show. The 2 championship matches delivered. We see some new just storylines coming out of the woodwork. We see championship matches coming later on with the North American Championship between Johnny Gargano and Bronson Reed next week in a steel cage. I can't wait for that. We got Karrion Kross and Finn Balor in their rematch in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, everything really came together on this show. Only fault I really saw was just like the hit row thing outside of Isaiah Swerve Scott. Everything else just felt kind of forced to me, but everything else on this show was incredible. We got the return of Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish, you guys, I can't wait to see what he does. But yeah, this was awesome stuff. Can't wait to see how they kind of build going into TakeOver in your house. But that is going to be it from your boy. You will see more throughout the weeks to come. But I am out. Peace. Continue to love yourself. Continue to love each other. Pray for the world, please, because it's crazy out here. All right, I'm going to catch y'all around though.